The gravel crunched under Alex's boots like bones breaking in the dead of night, each step pulling him closer to the house that had always felt like a fortress, until now. "Dad, I'm gay," he blurted out on the sagging porch, the words tasting like ash after years of swallowing them down. His father's fishing rod clattered to the floorboards, eyes widening not in rage, but in a dawning horror that mirrored Alex's own secret dread, the unraveling of everything they'd built on silence and sweat. The air hung thick with the scent of mesquite smoke from the grill, the 4th of July fireworks popping faintly in the distance over Lubbock's flat horizon. Alex Harlan, 23 and fresh off a Greyhound from Austin, where he'd been chasing dreams in a community college theater program, had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in his head. But nothing prepared him for the way his father's calloused hands trembled as he gripped the porch rail, knuckles whitening like they did when he'd lost the family ranch to the bank back in '08. Roy Harlan was a man carved from West Texas red dirt. Stoic, sun-leathered, the kind who fixed engines with prayers and raised a son on stories of rodeo glory and the unyielding pull of family legacy. Alex had idolized him once, trailing after those broad shoulders like a shadow, learning to throw a lasso before he could tie his shoes. But shadows grow long, and secrets even longer. Roy didn't speak at first. He just stared, the lines around his eyes deepening like cracks in parched earth. The fireworks burst higher now, red and white streaks painting the sky, mocking the tension coiling between them. Alex's heart hammered against his ribs, a wild Mustang he couldn't break. He'd come home for the holiday, suitcase in hand, because the weight of it all had finally buckled him. Nights in Austin tangled in sheets with a guy named Jordan, mornings staring at his reflection wondering if he could ever face the man who'd taught him to stand tall. Jordan had been a spark, a theater tech with ink-smeared fingers and a laugh that cut through the stage lights. But it was fleeting, a college fling that ended too soon when Jordan transferred to LA. Still, it had cracked Alex open, made him realize he couldn't keep pretending. Not anymore. "Dad." Alex's voice was a whisper now, laced with the plea of a boy who still craved approval more than air. Roy turned away, rubbing a hand over his stubbled jaw, the motion jerky, unfamiliar. "Go inside, son. We'll talk after." It wasn't a dismissal, not quite, but it sliced deeper than any shout. Alex obeyed, the screen door whining shut behind him like a judge's gavel. Inside the kitchen, the Harlan home was a museum of what-ifs. Faded photos of Alex in Little League, Roy's old rodeo buckle gleaming on the mantel, the fridge humming softly under a magnet shaped like the Lone Star. Alex paced, replaying the moment, his phone buzzing in his pocket. A text from his mom, Ellen, who'd stayed in Amarillo after the divorce. "Home safe. Miss you both." She didn't know yet. No one did, except Jordan, and that had been a tear-streaked confession over cheap whiskey in a dorm room. Alex sank into a chair, head in hands, the fireworks outside now a symphony of chaos. Roy entered after what felt like hours, though the clock said 10 minutes. He carried 2 cores from the cooler, condensation beating like sweat on the cans. He slid one across the table, avoiding Alex's eyes. "Your ma called earlier. Said you sounded off on the phone." A pause, heavy as a storm cloud. "That true?" Alex cracked the can, the hiss echoing his fraying nerves. "Yeah, it's been building." He took a swig, the cold bitterness grounding him. "I didn't plan to drop it like that, Dad, but I can't keep it in anymore. It's eating me alive." Roy nodded slowly, staring at the label on his own can like it held the answers to prayers he hadn't voiced. He was 61, a widower in spirit if not on paper. Ellen had left when the ranch folded, taking her laughter and leaving echoes. Roy had poured what was left into Alex, coaching him through high school football, driving him to every audition in Dallas when theater called instead of touchdowns. "I always figured you were different," Roy said finally, voice rough as sandpaper. "Sensitive like your ma. Artistic. But this." He trailed off, setting the can down with deliberate care. "Does it make you happy, Alex?" "That's all I ever wanted." The question hung there, simple and seismic. Alex's throat tightened. "It does. When I'm not scared of losing you." Tears pricked his eyes, hot and unbidden. Roy reached across the table then, his hand engulfing Alex's in a grip forged from years of hauling hay bales. It wasn't soft, wasn't effusive, but it was real, calluses scraping skin, a tether in the storm. They talked until the fireworks faded to sparklers in kids' hands down the block. Not everything spilled out. No deep dives into crushes or fears of small-town whispers, but enough. Roy shared stories he'd buried. A cousin in the 70s who'd fled to San Francisco after whispers turned to fists. Never heard from again. World's changing, son. Slower here than in the cities. But it's turning. By midnight, exhaustion claimed them, and Alex crashed on the old couch, the weight on his chest lighter for the first time in years. But dawn brought the reckoning. Alex woke to the smell of bacon sizzling, Roy at the stove in his usual routine. "Church today?" Roy asked, plating eggs like nothing had shattered the night before. Alex hesitated. Lubbock's First Baptist wasn't exactly a rainbow haven, but nodded. It was habit, a thread to normalcy. As they drove the dusty roads in Roy's battered Ford, the radio crooning George Strait, Alex stole glances at his father. Roy's jaw was set, but his eyes held a new softness, like he'd stared into the abyss and chosen to build a bridge instead. Church was the usual. Potluck echoes, Sister Maeve's lemon bars, Pastor Hale droning on redemption. Alex felt eyes on him. The prodigal returned, but no malice, just curiosity. Afterward, over coffee at the diner, Roy cleared his throat. "Got something to show you after this." Alex's pulse quickened. Was this the pivot? Acceptance laced with conditions? They ended up at the old Harlan spread. What was left of it? A skeletal barn and a field choked with mesquite. Sold off but leased back for grazing. Roy parked and led him to a rusted toolbox in the truck bed. Inside, wrapped in oilcloth, was a bundle of letters, yellowed and tied with twine. "Your granddad's," Roy said, voice low. "Wrote 'em during the war. To a fella in his unit. Never sent most." Alex's breath caught as he unfolded one, the script looping elegant. "Miss your laugh in the foxholes, Tommy. Nights here in the Pacific feel empty without it." Roy watched him read, arms crossed. He loved her, your grandma, fierce as fire. But there was room in his heart for more. Kept it locked away, like I almost did with you. The confession landed like rain on drought-struck soil. Alex looked up, seeing his father not as the unbreakable rancher, but as a man who'd carried his own ghosts. That afternoon, they worked the fence line side by side, mending wire under the relentless sun. Words flowed easier now, about Austin's drag shows, the sting of Jordan's goodbye text, "You're too good for this small-town cage. Babe." Roy's quiet admission of loneliness since Ellen left. As dusk painted the sky in bruised purples, Alex felt the first stirrings of something profound. Not just forgiveness, but rebirth. Word spread in Lubbock like wildfire through cotton fields. By week's end, Alex's phone lit up with texts from old friends. Curious, awkward, but not cruel. His buddy from high school, Tyler, clapped him on the back at the feed store. "Heard from your dad. Man's got stones." It was Roy who'd let it slip, casual over beers at the VFW, owning the truth before rumors could twist it. But peace is a fragile thing in places where tradition runs deep as oil wells. 2 weeks in, the call came from Pastor Hale himself. Roy, folks are talking. This lifestyle choice, it's dividing the flock. Roy's response was steel. Ain't no choice, preacher. This is my boy. And if that divides us, well, maybe it's time to find new ground. He hung up, face thunderous, and that night, over venison stew, he dropped the bomb. We're selling the house. Alex. Moving to Austin. Start fresh. Alex froze, fork midway to his mouth. What, Dad? No, this is home. But Roy's eyes burned with that old rodeo fire. Home's where family stands together, son. Not where they hide. The decision rippled out like a stone in a stock tank. Ellen drove down from Amarillo, tears streaming as she hugged them both. Proud of you, Roy. Took you long enough. She stayed a week, helping pack, her presence a bomb. Alex called Jordan on impulse one night, the line crackling with static and unspoken what-ifs. Coming back to town, he said. Jordan's laugh was warm, tentative. Doors open. Cowboy. The move was chaos. U-Haul groaning under boxes of memories. Roy haggling with realtors over the phone. Lubbock said goodbye in whispers. Some cold shoulders at the diner, but more handshakes, quiet nods. Sister Maeve slipped Alex a quilt, embroidered with stars. For new horizons, darlin', Austin welcomed them with its electric hum. 6th Street alive with neon. The Colorado River winding lazy under bat bridges. They rented a duplex in East Austin, Roy taking the mechanic gig at a Harley shop, Alex diving back into theater at the community college. Nights, they'd grill on the tiny patio, Roy nursing a shiner while Alex rehearsed lines. The city lights a constellation of possibility. Jordan re-entered like a scene from one of Alex's plays, bumping into him at a coffee shop near UT. All easy grins and faded band tea. Heard you broke free, over lattes that turned into dinners. Then walks along Lady Bird Lake. The spark reignited, slower this time, rooted in shared stories of small-town escapes. Jordan's hand in his felt like coming home, not fleeing it. But Roy's transformation wasn't seamless. Sleepless nights found him on the porch swing, staring at the traffic hum. One evening, after a shift where a customer spat slurs about, "That queer kid's old man," he cracked. "What if I messed you up, Alex? Pushing you too hard to be like me?" Alex knelt beside him, voice steady. "You gave me strength. That's what I took with me." Their bond deepened in the unlikeliest ways. Roy tagging along to Alex's first Pride float, awkward in a rainbow sticker on his vest, cheering louder than the drag queens. Alex introducing Jordan at family dinners. Ellen's visits now monthly. Watching Roy extend a hand, gruff but genuine. "Heard you build sets. Ever need a hammer?" Yet shadows lingered. The betrayal came swift and sharp. 6 months in. A letter arrived, forwarded from Lubbock, from Uncle Harlan, Roy's brother, the one who'd inherited the bulk of the ranch after the split. "You're a disgrace, Roy. Poisoning the bloodline. Don't come crawling back." It was laced with Bible verses, disowning them both. Roy crumpled it, but the hurt festered, pulling him into a bottle for a week, beers turning to whiskey, shifts missed, the duplex echoing with silence. Alex found him one dawn, slumped on the kitchen floor, the letter clutched like a grenade. "He's wrong, Dad. We're building something better." Jordan helped too. Quiet strength in the chaos, cooking breakfasts, running lines with Alex while Roy slept it off. It was Jordan who suggested the road trip. Get out, clear heads. See America like your old man always talked about. They piled into the Ford, Alex and Jordan shotgun, Roy at the wheel, and hit Route 66, chasing ghosts and horizons. From Austin's sprawl to Cadillac Ranch's graffitied relics, Amarillo's big Texan steak challenges to the Grand Canyon's yawning maw. Roy opened up under starlit campfires. Regrets over Ellen, the cousin's lost letters, his own buried affections, a high school buddy's touch during a dust storm, unspoken and shelved. Thought love like that was for other folks, he admitted, voice cracking. Alex shared too, the terror of that porch confession, the joy of Jordan's first kiss under Austin Oaks. Jordan fit like a missing piece, his patience a steady rhythm to Roy's gravelly tales. At the canyon's edge, as the sun dipped blood orange, Roy clapped Jordan on the shoulder. You make him light up, kid. That's rarer than gold in these parts. Back in Austin, the trip had welded them tighter. Roy joined a support group at the shop. Old vets swapping stories of hidden wars, internal and external. He even started dating a widow from the group with a laugh like wind chimes and no judgments. Alex's play premiered that spring. A one-act about fractured families mending under big skies. Roy in the front row, Jordan's hand warm in his. The climax crashed in like a Texas twister, a year after the move. Uncle Harlan showed up unannounced at the duplex, face twisted in self-righteous fury, demanding Roy sign over some old family deed he'd forgotten. Words flew, accusations of betrayal, of abandoning roots for that lifestyle filth. Roy stood tall, but Alex saw the old fractures reopening. Jordan stepped in, voice calm as lake water. This ain't about land, sir. It's about letting go of hate. Harlan lunged, a wild swing that Roy blocked, the scuffle spilling onto the lawn. Neighbors gawked. Sirens wailed distant. Alex pulled them apart, heart pounding, as Harlan spat venom. You're dead to us, Roy. Both of you. He stormed off, tires screeching into the night. In the aftermath, Roy broke. Not with anger, but grief. He vanished for a day. Phone off. Fears clawing at Alex. Is this the end? Jordan drove the streets, Alex calling Ellen in a panic. They found him at Zilker Park, by the springs, skipping stones like he had with Alex as a kid. Felt like losing the ranch all over, Roy said, eyes red-rimmed. But I ain't losing you. Not to him, not to ghosts. That night, father and son rebuilt from the rubble. Roy burned the letters, not his father's, but Harlan's poison, in a backyard fire pit, the flames devouring words of division. We're our own legacy now, he declared, voice steady. Jordan watched from the porch, a quiet guardian, his presence the romance woven into their redemption. Ellen arrived the next day, fierce as ever, filing papers to cut Harlan out legally. Family's what we choose, she said, hugging Roy tight. The group at the shop rallied 2 barbecue invites. Stories swapped. Alex's play got a review in the Austin Chronicle, a heartfelt ode to chosen kin. Jordan proposed a month later, on the anniversary of the move, with a ring simple as a lasso knot. Ride this out with me? The wedding was small, under pecan trees at Barton Springs. Roy walking Alex down an aisle of wildflowers, Ellen beaming beside Jordan's mom from L.A. Vows echoed the journey. Promises of standing firm, of love that reshapes ruins into homes. Years blurred into a tapestry of ordinary miracles. Roy retired to tinker with Harleys, volunteering at a youth center for LGBTQ kids, sharing tales of dusty porches and brave confessions. Told a boy today his old man's got his back. He'd say over dinners, Jordan's cooking filling the duplex now a house. Alex directed at the college, Jordan designing sets that lit up stages with possibility. One evening, As fireflies danced in the yard, Roy pulled Alex aside. "That night on the porch? Best thing you ever did, son. Reshaped us both." Alex nodded, throat tight, Jordan's arm around his waist a warm anchor. In the heart of America, where prairies meet progress, they'd forged a story not of endings, but of endless horizons, proof that coming out isn't just a revelation, but a revolution of the soul.